Sometimes, the most unexpected stories are born from moments we never planned for. On a quiet morning in a small town in Virginia, the sun rose over the misty hills, painting the horizon gold. The birds sang, the wind was soft, and life moved at its usual slow pace. But for Ethan Walker, this day was about to change his life forever. Ethan was 23, a hard-working mechanic who lived in a worn-down trailer on the edge of town. He had grown up learning to survive with very little, a mother who passed away early, a father who disappeared when things got tough, and dreams that never seemed to fit inside his small world. He spent his mornings fixing old trucks, his afternoons helping neighbors, and his nights staring at the stars, wondering if God ever noticed people like him. Every weekend, Ethan would drive his old pickup to a nearby beach, not far from the Virginia coast. It was his escape, a place where he could breathe, think, and hope. That morning, he didn't know that the tide was carrying not just waves, but destiny itself. The beach was almost empty except for a few joggers and families. The ocean shimmered in the sunlight, calm and endless. Ethan parked his truck, took off his shoes, and walked toward the water. He loved the sound of the waves crashing, it made him feel alive. Then suddenly, a scream cut through the wind. Ethan's heart froze. He turned and saw people gathered near the shoreline, shouting, pointing at something far into the water. A girl, no, a young woman, was caught in the current, struggling to stay afloat. Her arms flailed, her voice broke with panic. No one dared to go in, the waves were strong, and the water looked deep. Without thinking, Ethan ran. He didn't stop to ask who she was. He didn't think about the risk. His boots hit the sand hard, splashing through the surf as he dived into the water. The cold hit his skin, the salt burned his eyes, but he kept swimming, fighting against the pull of the ocean. He reached her just as her strength gave out. She was going under. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulled her up, and shouted over the roar of the waves, "Hold on." With every ounce of strength, he dragged her toward the shore. The current pushed back, trying to tear them apart, but Ethan refused to let go. When they finally reached the sand, both collapsed, gasping for air. The crowd cheered, rushing to help, but Ethan stayed focused on her. She was breathing, but barely. Her golden hair was soaked, her eyes closed, her face pale as marble. Ethan gently turned her on her side, patting her back until she coughed and took a sharp breath. Relief washed over him like sunlight after a storm. She opened her eyes slowly, beautiful hazel eyes, filled with confusion and fear. "You saved me," she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. "You're okay now. You're safe." Paramedics arrived soon after, taking her away for a checkup. Ethan didn't expect anything, he was just happy she was alive. He stayed on the sand, shivering, staring at the horizon. To him, it was just another day where a life had been saved. He didn't know the storm that was about to follow. Later that evening, when Ethan returned to his workshop, an expensive black car stopped outside. A man in a suit stepped out, tall, confident, and clearly from a different world. He asked, "Are you Ethan Walker?" Ethan nodded cautiously. The man handed him a card. "Mr. Walker, my name is James Carter. You saved my daughter today, Sophia Carter." Ethan blinked. The name sounded familiar. "Your daughter?" "Yes. She's at St. Mary's Hospital right now. She's doing well, thanks to you. My family owes you more than words can say." Ethan didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being thanked, especially not by millionaires. The man continued, "We'd like to invite you to our home in California. Sophia insists on meeting you again in person." Ethan almost laughed. "California? Sir, I'm just a mechanic. You don't need to." But James Carter smiled kindly. "Sometimes, son, fate doesn't care who you are. It just brings the right people together." Days later, Ethan found himself standing in front of a grand mansion overlooking the Pacific Ocean. He'd never seen anything like it, marble floors, ocean views, and a driveway full of cars worth more than he could ever earn. He felt out of place, a poor Virginia boy lost in another world. Then he saw her again. Sophia walked down the stairs, radiant and graceful, wearing a simple white dress. She smiled when she saw him. "You really came." Ethan grinned nervously. "Couldn't say no to the girl I rescued." They both laughed, and for the first time, their worlds didn't feel so far apart. Over the next few days, Ethan learned that Sophia wasn't just any millionaire's daughter, she was kind, humble, and surprisingly lonely. Despite her wealth, she longed for the kind of real connection that money couldn't buy. Ethan, with his honesty and warmth, became that connection. They spent hours walking by the ocean, talking about life, dreams, and what truly mattered. Ethan told her how he grew up fixing engines to pay for school, how he'd always believed kindness was the only wealth worth having. Sophia listened, her heart moved by his sincerity. As days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. What started as gratitude slowly turned into something neither of them expected, love. But the world doesn't stay quiet when love crosses the lines of class. The media soon discovered their story, Mechanic Saves Millionaire's Daughter. Cameras followed Ethan everywhere, twisting his intentions, calling him a gold digger. Sophia's friends whispered, her father's investors questioned his judgment. Ethan, seeing the chaos, decided to step away. One night, he stood by the ocean, staring at the moonlit waves. Sophia found him there, tears in her eyes. "You're leaving, aren't you?" she whispered. He nodded. "I don't belong in your world, Sophia. You deserve peace." She shook her head. "You belong wherever kindness lives. That's why I found you." Her words hit deep, but he still turned away. Sometimes love means letting go. Months passed. Ethan returned to Virginia, back to his workshop and his quiet life. But something had changed, he was no longer the same man. Saving her had reminded him that even the smallest person could make a difference. Then one morning, as he was fixing an old engine, a car stopped outside, a familiar one. Sophia stepped out, wearing a simple jacket, her smile brighter than ever. "I told you, Ethan, kindness always finds its way home." He stared at her, speechless. "Sophia, what are you doing here?" She handed him an envelope. Inside was a set of keys, not to a car, but to a new workshop. "You said you wanted to help more people. So, let's do it together." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Together." She nodded. "Together." And as the camera slowly faded out, the narrator's voice would rise softly. "Sometimes, the richest hearts don't come from mansions. They come from the people who never stop believing in good." Ethan's story reminds us that kindness doesn't need wealth, just courage. And when life pulls you under, remember, someone out there will dive in for you. Sparkles, if you believe kindness still exists, don't forget to subscribe and share this story. Let's fill the world with hope, one story at a time. Sparkles.